Residential versus commercial, we're back again. Hopefully you enjoyed the last video when we talked about residential versus commercial, about location. Today we're going to cover off tenants. How important is tenant? Now, when you buy a residential property, it doesn't matter if you've got a tenant or not. In fact, sometimes you prefer to have a property that has no tenant, because if you want to refurbish that property, you want to uplift the value and you want to sell it back into the market, or if you want to demo it, it makes perfect sense to have a property with no tenants. Sometimes having a tenant is a hindrance, and also tenants can destroy your residential property a lot faster than they can your commercial property. What's the importance of having a tenant? Well, in residential, not important at all. Tenants are everywhere, right? Tenants are everywhere because all you have to do is drop the rent by about $50 a week and you'll get a tenant in. Yeah, you might not get always the best type of tenant, because residential tenant, let's face it, they're transit, right? What happens is that when you have transit tenant is that they treat your place like a hotel, and anything breaks, they get you to fix it. So what does that mean? That means that if the light bulb even breaks, the leaking taps, if the toilet doesn't flush, they're gonna say, call a plumber, call an electrician, or something happens to the grass, oh, the grass needs mowing, go and get a gardener to do it. So all of those things start to chew up your cash flow. So your residential is bleeding you cash, and your tenant is causing that bleed more than anything else out there. Your tenant is causing you the bleed on your cash, right? This might sound totally counterintuitive, but if you have a tenant in your $2 million residential property, you're actually supporting and subsidizing your tenant's lifestyle. Think about that. Think about the money you have to pay for maintenance of that property, all the outgoings and the mortgage, and your tenant pays a pittance to be able to live in the luxury of your great house that you bought for $2 million. But also think of the fact that they don't treat your place as if it's their own. They don't take care of it. They expect you to take care of it and for them to just live there because you're a wealthy landlord, right? This is the mindset of tenants when you have a residential property, and that's why having tenant really sucks. But the worst thing is, with a tenant in there paying your rent, you're still losing money in your residential property, and that's got to be the bit that hurts the most, especially when you're trying to create wealth. And here at Unikorn Commercial Property, here Helen, Tarrant, myself, I've been helping everyday Australians become wealthy through investing in commercial property. And the reason we're doing this series about residential versus commercial, and we're talking about tenants, is I want you to realize the biggest difference a tenant makes in residential versus commercial. So in commercial, tenants are like gold. You have to work with your tenants because together you guys create wealth together. And the reason you do that is because your commercial tenant are there paying your rent, but they're subsidizing you, your landlord's lifestyle, because their rent is going to cover your mortgage repayments, plus give you cash flow, and they pay outgoings on top of it, plus they treat your premise as if it's their own, which means that they take care of it. If it needs general maintenance for wear and tear, they will take care of it. If the water heater breaks, right, they will fix it because they've put the installation in. If there's a leaking tap, they'll fix it. A toilet that's not working, they'll fix it, right? Yes, if the roof comes off, yes, the air conditioning unit doesn't work, you have to replace it, because those are hardware, hard capital costs. But you have to do that in your residential as well. But all of those maintenance costs that just eat away at your cash flow from your residential doesn't happen in commercial. Your tenants take care of all of that, which means you put more money into your pockets, and more money into your pockets, more sooner to retirement, more cash flow to save up for the next property, right? So fundamentally, in commercial, tenants are scarce. Tenants are much scarcer than tenants in residential. But tenants, once they are found, do stay in your property for a long time. So while residential tenants can move with 6, 12 months at the moment, or 18 months, every time their situation changes, they move, or they don't treat your property as their own because they're transiting. Commercial tenants, they spend a lot of money. You see, residential tenants don't do that. They don't come into your property and they don't fit it out. They certainly don't paint it. They don't put their own equipment in there. They bring their own furniture, but they certainly don't install heavy machinery. They don't invest into your property. But commercial tenants do. They come in, they fit out your premise. Sometimes they spend $400,000 or $500,000 fitting out your premise. So imagine a doctor coming into your property. Imagine an industrial tenant coming and putting cranes into your property. Imagining a law firm coming and putting like high marble desks, relaying the office, like beautiful flooring, beautiful new air conditioning, like all of those things. Like they're investing in your property and into their own business, right? They're making your property really beautiful and adding value to your property by already fitting out your property. Then they maintain the fit out and your property's general general wear and tear when they're there. But even though tenants are scarce in commercial property, once they're there for the long term. A lot of tenants are in a commercial property for 5 minimum, but 10, 15, 25, 35 years they're in the same spot because it suits their need. It costs them a lot of money to get started. Why would they want to move? It's the huge disruption of their business, and as their business grows, they want to move less and less because they need to be more concrete and just get things ticking over, right? So a fundamental differences between residential and commercial when it comes to tenants is that tenants are a pain in the ass and tenants are a headache, and tenants make you lose money in residential, but there's plentiful and they tend to destroy your property. In commercial, tenants are like gold. Tenants are scarce, but once they're found and they're in your property, they're heavily invested into your property. They put all of the efforts in and they create value for your property. They add value. So sometimes your tenants will do additions to your property, like disability toilets, like building out like a ramp outside for disability, but also they might do a shelter outside, a covering and everything else to increase the value or the lettable space, mezzanine floors, al fresco dinings, dividing large premises into smaller premises. The tenants will do those things for you, creating storage cages. So the tenants are like gold and they treat your property really well because it's their principal business and they want their customers to have a really good feel when they come into the property. So they treat your property really, really well and they take care of it really well. They add value to your property and they pay the rent, which subsidizes your lifestyle, not the other way around. If you have a residential tenant, you're subsidizing their lifestyle. A commercial tenant subsidizes your lifestyle through giving you really good rent and they pay for all the outgoings, so you have more money into your pockets. So what are the fundamentals? Commercial property tenants are like gold. Treat them well and forever you will have them subsidizing and supporting your lifestyle. And they're the fundamentals of what you need when you head to retirement. If you're looking for retiring soon, you need to find properties in commercial property that has tenants, really great tenants that are going to continuously be in your premise for the long term. Residential, it is the property, the building that is worth more than the tenant inside. The tenant is changeable and it doesn't matter who the tenant is because they can always go and come. But in commercial, the tenants are worth its weight in gold because the tenant puts money into your pockets. So if this is of value to you, click subscribe and the bell. Make sure you join us at one of our live events. Links below. Also buy the book on Cashed Up Commercial Property, the definitive guide on commercial property. But also make sure you tune in for the rest of this series where I cover more things commercial versus residential and showing you the fundamental differences. But if you're looking to switch into commercial, don't make any mistakes. Build a team behind you. Get some professional advice. Reach out to us, helentarrant.com, unikorn.com.au, where together we can create wealth. And on that note, I'll see you in the next video.